Hello again, my fellow pilots and aircraft maintenance personnel. Your host is Haytham Aly, and I'm an aviation technical instructor. Welcome to my aviation nuggets for today. Today, we'll speak about the Airbus A320 thrust reverser system for the CFM56-5B engine. As you can see from this video, the thrust reverser operation in just 2 seconds. It is of the aerodynamic blockage type. We have 2 pivoting blocker doors on each C duct. So we have for each engine 4 blocker doors. They are of the aerodynamic blockage type and they are reverse the bypass air or the cold fan stream. Okay, so for operation of the thrust reverser only on ground, we have 3 lines of defense. There are 3 lines of defense to protect the operation of the thrust reverser and permit it only on ground. The 3 lines of defense are managed and controlled by 3 computers. 3 computers need to accept the operation of the thrust reverser. The electronic control unit for the engine, primary or first line of defense, the engine interface unit, secondary line of defense, and the spoiler elevator computer, third line of defense. In order to operate the thrust reverser, as you can see, for deploy sequence, the pilots need to release the reverser latching levers in order to get the throttle control lever from the idle stop to reverse idle. This operation is taken from 0 at idle stop to -6 at reverse idle. So from 0 to -6, we need the thrust reverser to be fully deploy, as you can see here, And the pilot will have reverse in green on the N1 dial. During deploy sequence, no indication, thrust reverser fully stowed. Reverse amber, thrust reverser in transit. Reverse in green, thrust reverser fully deploy. And the actuator of the pivoting blocker doors overshoot more than 95%. So reversing green will come only when the 4 pivoting blocker doors are fully deployed at reverse idle. Okay. So again, let's speak about the 3 lines of defense managed and controlled by the electronic control unit, engine interface unit, and the spoiler elevator computer. Primary line of defense, secondary line of defense, tertiary line of defense or third line of defense. Okay, the third line of defense is the first action to happen and it's called an independent line of defense. Why the third line of defense is called an independent line of defense? Because they need to be a computer, not the engine computer, not related to the engine. So Airbus elect here to have the flight control SEC computers. Okay. So the spoiler elevator computer, when they receive a signal from the throttle control unit switch, which it is switch inside the throttle control unit, okay, at -3, the spoiler elevator computer energize the relay and open the hydraulic shutoff valve, which will allow the hydraulic supply coming from the hydraulic system to reach the hydraulic control unit. So this shutoff valve and this spoiler elevator computer are called independent line of defense. They are the third line of defense. First action to happen. Why they are called independent? Because they are computer other than the engine computer and shutoff valve not related to the engine system. Okay. This is happen at -3 throttle resolver angle. Okay. So at -3.8, the secondary line of defense and the engine interface unit assure that the aircraft is on ground from the landing gear control interface unit, then it will energize the inhibition relay, so that the electronic control unit can energize the directional valve inside the hydraulic control unit, Okay, this is the second line of defense. Second line of defense managed and controlled by an engine controller or engine computer. It is called engine interface unit, which is the interface concentrator between the engine computer and the aircraft system computers. The engine interface unit job is to energize the inhibition relay so that the electronic control unit can energize the directional valve, Okay, this is the second line of defense. At minus 4.3, the electronic control unit now can energize the directional valve and also the pressurizing valve, because for deploy the thrust reverser, as you can see here, the electronic control unit need to energize the pressurizing valve and directional control valve. For deploy sequence, the electronic control unit need to energize the directional valve, and that will not happen unless the EIU energize the inhibition relay. Okay, so again, 3 line of defense need to be operated and need to accept the operation of the thrust reverse or deploy of the thrust reverse only on ground. Each computer need to assure from something. For example, the SEC need to assure regarding aircraft altitude from the radio altimeter. And the engine interface unit need to assure that the aircraft is on ground from the landing gear control interface unit. And the ECU need to assure that the other engine is on idle, Indication for the thrust reverser coming on the N1 dial. No indication, thrust reverser fully stowed. Reverse in amber, thrust reverser in transit. Reverse in green, thrust reverser fully deployed. So, for the indication on the N1 dial, they are coming from stow switch and dewel deploy switch. Stow switch and dewel deploy switch. So each door, each pivoting blocker door has its own stow switch. And for each 2 door, there is 1 dewel deploy switch. Okay. Stow switch give an indication if the thrust reverser is 0% or 1%. Any stow switch on 1%, any stow switch giving that the blocker door is at 1% of its angular movement, so you will have reverse in amber on the N1 dial. And both the dewel deploy switch, so the 4 dewel deploy switch, need to be at 95% to indicate reversing green on the N1 dial, so that the thrust reverser is fully deploy, as you can see now, fully deploy at reverse idle. The main component of the thrust reverser system is the hydraulic control unit, which do have pressurizing valve and directional valve. For deploy only, the ECU need to energize the directional valve. In any other circumstance, if the ECU energizes the pressurizing valve only, the pivoting blocker door will go to the stow side. The hydraulic will go to the stow side of the actuator and assure that the pivoting blocker door are stowed. So what about the latches on the doors? In this engine, we have two latches. Door latch, one door latch, and the other is actuator latch. Actuator latch. So for each pivoting blocker door, we have one door latch, one actuator latch, one switch, and one dual deploy switch, which manage two doors at the same time, simultaneously. Okay, so as you can see here, the thrust reverser system is of the aerodynamic blockage type. Okay, it consists of 4 pivoting blocker doors, which stop and redirect fan discharge airflow, the bypass airflow, or the cold thrust only is used for reverser operation. We have 2 doors are installed on each C duct. As you can see here, 2 pivoting blocker doors on each C duct. Okay. Thrust reverser operation is possible on ground only. How? By a 3-line of defense, managed and controlled by electronic control units as the first line of defense, the engine interface unit as the second line of defense, and the spoiler elevator computer as the third independent line of defense. First action to happen, the third line of defense. Second action to happen, the second line of defense. And third action to happen is the first line of defense. Okay, so the thrust reverser system is hydraulically supplied by the corresponding hydraulic pump on the engine. So engine number 1 is powered by the green hydraulic system EDP. And engine number 2 is powered by the yellow hydraulic system engine-driven pump. Engine-driven pump. Thank you for your good listening, and always stay tuned for an upcoming sessions like this. Thank you, and stay tuned for an upcoming sessions like this, and don't forget to subscribe to my Aviation Nuggets. It is for my fellow pilots and aircraft maintenance personnel. Thank you, and goodbye.